now, I don't say my childhood was really normal, but it was for sure very special. As a child, when fight and flight wasn't my instinct, I froze. I just slowly began to shove that little girl so far down inside of me that it would take a miracle to ever find her and bring her the healing that she needed. Growing up for me was normal, or at least, what I considered to be normal. I just remember being very happy. Really never had to question my security, my love that my parents had for me. Just a very free child, and grew up in a pastor's home and accepted Christ at a very early age. But something shifted. There was a change around the age of 12 or 13. So the Jesus that I fell in love with became a Jesus plus rules, a Jesus plus do's and don'ts, and a Jesus plus you need to act a certain way. And it all of a sudden just became an unrealistic expectation put on me that I couldn't obtain or ever achieve. So I slowly just began to walk away and went down a long path of just choosing and making bad choices, and all of that eventually led me to a night that would forever change my life. When I was 13 years old, I naively snuck out of my house and innocently, in every sense of the word, got into a car with two grown men and had the idea that we were going to a party. Never made it to the party that night and was dropped off a few hours later like a piece of trash that had just been raped. As a 13-year-old child, when fight and flight wasn't my instinct, I froze. And it was very hard for me to put into words what had just taken place, and it was very hard for me to articulate that event. I just slowly began to shove that story and shove that little girl so far down inside of me that it would take a miracle to ever find her and bring her the healing that she needed. I eventually got through high school. Right out of high school, I married an alcoholic, verbally abusive man, at times would turn physical. I got married because I was pregnant. My heart sank when the nurse said, "I'll be back. I need to go get the doctor," because I knew that something wasn't right. And that was confirmed when she said, I don't see a heartbeat." I felt like my whole world had ended. And I went back 2 days later and gave birth to a lifeless baby. And just remember holding him and just tears streaming down my face, thinking, when you don't love yourself and you're married to someone who doesn't love you, only because they really don't know how, and your heart is so closed off to ever receiving God's love, I walk around daily, I feel like, with a hole still in my heart. And my arms always yearn to hold my son. And the hope, though, is in Christ. I'll see him again. Eventually, that marriage would end. I couldn't give one more ounce. I didn't have it to give to that marriage. And I was drained emotionally and mentally from that marriage. But the ending of that season of my life would be this beautiful beginning of a healing journey where God just began to put my heart back together, one broken piece at a time. When you believe lies for so long, they eventually become true to you. God took me by the hand, and together He walked with me down that long, painful road to find that little girl and to bring her the healing that she needed. And along with that, He was able to show me where He was, and that was right by my side every step of the way. Not just in the high moments of my life, but also in the hopelessness and in the tragedy and the heartache. He was right there with me. Our stories are redeemed for a purpose. And I know a lot of people like to have that fairy tale perfect story. And I think a lot of people think that they need that in the church, but the reality is that no one has that fairy tale story to tell. But they can all have a fairy tale ending in Christ, one that is encapped with peace and joy and freedom. And that's what I have now, because my story no longer serves shame and now serves a purpose.